Right. So, good evening, everyone. And I welcome all of you today to the third session of With Time, and it is called Careers in Product Management. And today with us, we have Director Ahmedabad Satish Sir, and the speaker for today, we have Chandrasekhar Sir Jha. He has worked in various companies like GeoMart, Paytm, Flipkart, and Glance. And he is also an IIM Calcutta alumni just like Satish sir. And we're really happy to host you today, sir. So thank you so much for taking out the time.
Eh, Thank you, Survi, so much, and thank you, Satish sir. Also, wonderful opportunity. Always good to meet the Gen Z folks, right? As they are called these days, right? Uh, so yeah, fantastic thing. I think last did a session not in careers, but yeah, something with the time students last year. So it's always good to be
Yes.
associated with folks.
Thank you, sir. Just start off with a brief introduction of your journey, how you started with it, and then, how have you proceeded?
So, even before that, Survi, most of the people are from Ahmedabad only, right? Or is it not? No,
Majorly so, sir.
Predominantly,
Yes.
Bombay
predominantly
also.
Ahmedabad. Some people
Okay,
might be from Jamshedpur also. Some people might be from Baroda also.
okay. Came cho, came cho everyone. I am also born and brought up in Ahmedabad, right? I I did my schooling from St. Xavier's Mirzapur and St. Xavier's Loyola predominantly. Those were the good years. Just like most people, most of you, I am also the quintessential engineer turned MBA. So I wanted to do engineering, and then we thought, oh, अब क्या करें? चलो MBA करते हैं, right? Back then, in our time, we didn't have say something like careers and so. The only thing that we used to have is, अच्छा MBA करना है, MBA करके पैसे कमाना है. But I really appreciate whatever that Satish is doing while time coaching and all that. That's something that others would also provide. But essentially, you are here to build a career, right? And the earlier you get serious about all these things, the better it is because you will start working in that particular direction, right? So yeah, it's fantastic, right? So yeah, back to myself. I'm the quintessential engineer turned MBA. I did my computer science engineering, got placed, but then I converted. I'm Calcutta same year. Passed out in 2012, and I have 12 years of experience. I have worked in different streams. So I started with consulting. I worked with IBM as a consultant, strategy consultant for a year. Post that, I worked with a company called Trafigura that was into commodities trading. Going back to what Satish sir was saying, right? Consulting, finance, right? In our days, those were the things that people used to focus on, right? So, and I was no different, right? But 3 years into the corporate world, I wanted to start up. So I did my startup that was in the education tech space. It's called Logic Kids. The startup is still running. You can actually go and Google, right? But I wasn't enjoying that much because of the kind of scale that we had, right? So then later I went to Flipkart. Post Flipkart, I joined Paytm in Glance, and currently I lead the seller experience product at GeoMart, right? So it's been about 1.5 years or so. So different stints. I have worked in e-commerce. I have worked in a little bit in fintech. Worked little bit in short video space and all of that. So, and also I've worked across different streams, right? Finance or consulting, to some extent marketing, sales, and product, right? So here I am having tasted different things, and please feel free to ask whatever questions that you have for me, right? I will try to answer in the best possible way that I can. And I'm sure I see 50 of you, although 25 of them are Amans, but still you would have questions. So yeah, that's about me. Survi, how
Right.
do you want
Yes.
to?
Sir, we have a set of
Sir,
questions prepared.
hello, sir.
So that's how. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
So sorry, chiming in here again. So I think ये जब हम careers in finance, operations या consulting ये जब series भी जब हम सोच रहे थे, so I
Hmm.
think a key takeaway for all of us can be from the introduction itself, which is हम जब कई बार हम एज ए स्टूडेंट हम जब देखते हैं वी लुक एट इट इन लीनियर फॉर्म कि सर मेरे को फिनांस करना है, मेरे को कंसल्टिंग करना है, मेरे को ऑपरेशंस करना है. बट ए लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स आर आई वुड से 80-85% ऑफ द टाइम्स करियर्स आर गोइंग टू बी नॉन लीनियर.
Correct.
जैसे अभी चंद्रशेखर सर के ही हम बैकग्राउंड में देख सकते हैं, राइट? सो ही हैज स्टार्टेड इन consulting, then move to finance, then into product management. And you guys have to understand that product management is a very recent phenomenon, at least in India.
Correct.
10-15 साल पहले प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट नाम के ना ही रोल्स एग्जिस्ट करते थे, ना ही कोई पढ़ाई होती थी, कुछ नहीं होता, राइट? आई एम श्योर, मतलब चंद्रशेखर सर, अगर 10 साल बाद में और कोई नई चीज इमर्ज होंगी, पीपल लाइक यू वुड हैव गॉन देयर आल्सो, विल गो देयर आल्सो, राइट? मतलब आई एम श्योर आपने ये नहीं बनाया होगा, मतलब सॉरी, आई एम अगेन अज्यूमिंग हियर कि मैं तो प्रोडक्ट ही करूंगा, मैं तो कंसल्ट ही करूंगा. पीपल आर ओपन टू थिंग्स, right? So that is,
The-
that in itself is ever a can be a key learning for us. Back to you, Survi, for your structured question. So Survi is going to be joining Deloitte, right? Deloitte, right? हाँ.
Oh,
Deloitte, sir.
तो जो
congrats.
कंसल्टेंट बनने,
Uh,
वो कंसल्टेंट
That is
बनने की राह पे है, तो अपना स्ट्रक्चर्ड क्वेश्चंस तैयारी करके आते हैं, राइट?
No, sir, but as you rightly pointed out that, product management is a very recent phenomenon, and hence I feel that, there is low awareness about what exactly is included in the field of product management, right? There is more awareness about finance, consulting, marketing, sales, right? So, sir, if you could just start with a basic understanding or an explanation of what exactly product management is, what are the stages, what is the life cycle, just a brief from your end.
Product management is all about problem solving, right? So, and essentially, you would see a lot of MBAs get into product management, right? So, you are trying to solve problems. You are thrown a problem and you are trying to solve the problem, right? अब आप बोलोगे अच्छा प्रॉब्लम तो हर कोई सॉल्व कर रहा है, सेल्स वाला भी कर रहा है, ये स्ट्रैटेजी वाला भी कर रहा है, बिजनेस वाला भी कर रहा है, कोई भी कर रहा है, राइट? द डिफरेंस इज you are trying to solve problems at scale, right? And in doing so, how do you do that? You inevitably end up using tech, right? Say for example, जैसे say for example in e-commerce there's a sales report that's coming on a daily basis, right? Now someone goes and clicks and downloads all the report on a daily basis and they spend about say 4 hours, right? Suddenly you as a product manager come in, you figure out, oh, this is a problem, right? Should I solve this problem? Yeah, it's a big problem because say 40 people are putting in 4 hours on a daily basis. Rather than that, can you automate something like this so that this can be done in 10 minutes instead of 4 hours, right? If you do that, then essentially you are saving 3 hours and 50 minutes for the team, for the org, right? Which is a huge saving. So essentially, you will find a lot of fancy definitions, but at the core of product management is problem solving. So you need to be a good problem solver, right? This is one thing. The second big thing is you need to pick and choose your battles, right? ये अभी आप लोग भी कैट प्रेप भी कर रहे हो and lot of people have done your MBAs also, right? In life also and more so in professional life, you need to figure out, is this the right problem that I am trying to solve? That in itself is a very good skill, because at any point in time you'll have 100 things to do. अब वो 100 things में से आप कौन सा करो, which is the one that you should prioritize, right? And how do you prioritize? These are some of the things that are at the heart of product management, right? Then there is the second part, which I think some of you mentioned, managing the end to end life cycle of the product, right? In some cases, creating a product from scratch, launching, getting in all the stakeholders, creating a sort of launching the product, doing a proof of concept, and then once validation and everything is there, then you build products or launch products at scale and maintaining and managing that. I'll take a pause to understand if anyone has a question or so.
So, sir, you told about that product manager is someone who is solving out the problem. So, sir, what will be the difference between the market researcher and the product developer? because market is also like analyzing a market, and based on that they are giving the advices to the people who are
Hmm.
creating a. तो सर ये दोनों रोल तो लाइक ऑलमोस्ट सेम नहीं हो गए, मतलब लाइक व्हाट इज द की डिफरेंस बिटवीन टुडे?
Perfect. So market researcher क्या करेगा आदित्य? He or she will research about the product, or rather the customer, get the right insights, but he'll give those suggestions and he'll stop there. Product manager क्या करेगा? Okay, there are 10 insights. Out of these 10 insights, which are the top two or three ones which we should work on? So he will say, oh, these are the three insights, or rather three problems that we need to solve for. Out of these three problems, then they will go and figure out that for all of these problems, there are, like, say, I don't know, five different solutions, right? तो अब 5 3 into 5 15 solutions है, तो वो 15 solutions execute करना है. So then what they'll do, inevitably, like I said, it is tech, right? Because you are trying to solve problems at scale. आप tech से करोगे, तो ये 15 solutions, they will work with the tech team to figure out what's the estimate like. So ये तीन चीजें हैं हमें improve करना है. There's a business problem, right? The business problem could be increasing customer retention. Business problem could very well be increasing business itself. The business problem could be something like increasing engagement. जैसे आप WhatsApp के product manager हो, तो WhatsApp के product manager, one user spends about 26 minutes per day on an average, right? Your problem is to increase the engagement, make it from 26 to 32 minutes. If you are able to do that, then monetization and all that, lot of things come in, right? So जो market research या user researcher है, they will say, oh, user is behaving in so and so manner, this is what I feel. Product manager will take that insight. From that insight, build some hypothesis, figure out some solutions against it, prioritize those solutions, and also execute, right? Which is very important. And that's why that end to end thing comes along, right? There is one more thing that, so the difference between this guy and the user research. So, product manager will not only focus on getting insights from the user researcher, he or she can very well get it from the business people, from directly speaking to the customer. In cases जैसे अगर रिटेल में आप सेलर से बात कर रहे हो या डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर से बात कर रहे हो, so there are channel partners, you can speak to them. You can also do your own research on social media and figure out how the trend is. You can also speak to your support teams. So all these B2C companies, Flipkart support and all that, Paytm support, you would have seen, right? So all these queries, they can actually analyze and figure out what are the mota big sentiments that are coming out, or biggest pain points that are coming out. So in सबको consolidate करना and prioritize करना, execute करना, that would be the biggest difference between a PM versus a user researcher. Does that answer?
एंड सर लाइक पीएम जो होगा वो प्राइसिंग को भी मतलब अपने हिसाब से वो करेगा ना, लाइक, और इज इट अ पार्ट ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल रिसर्चर?
So pricing is a decision that is generally taken. It's a joint decision between product, business, as well as researcher. Researcher will again come back with insight saying that, oh, 100 rupees is not the right price. It should be 150, right? Business, with business, you would do a competitive analysis and a joint decision would be taken. But out of these three, the fundamental owner for pricing would generally be business. It depends from product to product, right? If it is more like a physical product, there are high chances business will take a call. But say, for example, if it's only a tech product which is like subscription based, right, from the freemium model and all of that, then I think product has a lot of say in pricing also. And in product, we also do something called as A/B testing. So A/B testing is, and I'm sure you guys are well read, knowledgeable, right? So for a certain set of users, you will try to put a certain price or a certain feature and see how it works and compare the results against the cohorts. So pricing is one aspect of it. Okay. I'll just elaborate on some of the skills also, right? Product management. So again, basis years of my experience, right? I've seen there are 3 or 4 different skills that you need to be a good product person, product leader, product manager, whatever be the designation, right? So one is product strategy, right? Product strategy and vision. So why are we building this product, right? And how will we win the market, or how will we win over competitors, right? The second skill that you also need is you need to have a very good design thinking, or design UI UX is what we call, right? Design sense. So you should be able to see the flow, end to end flow, and figure out whether what are the pain points that a customer would face, right? The third skill would be around analytics. Like I said, you need to be good problem solver, right? So you need to do a lot of number crunching and all of that. Obviously you can have some analytics team also to help you with that, but product manager also does a lot of analysis, analytics, number crunching, etc., etc. And fourth and most important is execution. So when I say execution, you are the end-to-end owner, so you need to get things done. And to get things done, because you are working in a solo kind of manner, you need to be very, very good at stakeholder management, right? Why is that important? Because a product person would interact with, say, someone in the tech team who's a developer, someone who's a QA, someone on the business side, someone who's like a very senior leader, someone in the finance team, right? Or even a customer. So you need to be able to, build rapport, and no one reports to you, right? But you still need to get things done. You need to align everyone to get things done. So you need to be very, very good at stakeholder management and execution. So if you look at the 4 points, right, it is strategy, it would be design, analytics, execution. Now when you start your role, generally you start off with execution. Someone is telling you this is what we want to build, right? But over a period of time, you have to develop three, two, and most importantly, one. Why am I trying to solve the problem that is there? Should I solve this problem, or should I solve that problem? Yeah, that answers.
Right, sir. I think that was very helpful. So we've talked about the skills that are requisite for product management, and we've also talked about what product management is from a veteran, right? So, sir, moving on, we would all like to understand, sir. You've started your career with consulting, and then you've also worked in marketing, right? So a couple of domains you've worked in. How is it that you got inspired to work into product management? What is some aspects of product management that you were attracted to?
Okay. Okay. To answer that, I think I want to ask one question to the audience as well. If people are B school as MBA aspirants and would be going into corporate careers, folks, what do you expect out of, or where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What is it that you want? I know everyone wants money, so that is pretty much out. But uske alawa, what is it that you want? So yeah, so like you mentioned, Surveer, right? I've been part of multiple different industries, right? Life is a process of discovering your own self, right? During my IIM Cal days, I was like, oh, ठीक है, पैसा कहाँ है? पैसा consulting में है, पैसा finance में, let's go there, right? But once I was thrown in the ocean, I started to discover more things about myself, right? And it comes from, sitting down and introspecting a lot. So one of the first things that I realize is, as a person, and it may not be true for everyone, but I've seen that to be true for a lot of people. Every 1.5 years, I want to work on a new problem statement. I get bored, right? So if you are generally what happens, even if say you are in consulting, right? First 6 7 months you will learn 80%. After that you will be doing at least average, if not better than average, right? So, but then after a year or so, you will say, oh, we've already done this, let's work on something new, right? So, newness is something that I always wanted. The second thing is, I have always been a learner. I want to, keep on learning and all of that, right? Now, if you look at the industries, generally, I'm not saying some industry is bad, but say something like manufacturing, the learning problem or potential is not that high, because the world is not very is not changing as much as say it would be changing on the technological front, right? So that's number two. So I'm just listing down my parameters that I figured out, right? And then on the basis of that, I figured which could be the best careers, right? Third is problem solving, but problem solving at scale, right? So I've also been part of sales. अब sales में क्या होता है? We do the numbers. अगले महीने फिर वही numbers करने हैं, फिर वही करना है. It becomes very very ops heavy. So and I'm not saying it's bad. It wasn't for me, is what I wanted to say, right? Fourth, over a period of time. So earlier I overestimated myself. I thought, oh, I'll be slogging donkey's hours, I'll be working 15, 16 hours and all of that. Over a period of time, I realized it's not very sustainable. There's much more to life apart from that as well, right? So decent work-life balance, and by decent work-life balance, I'm saying at least I'm very happy to work, say, somewhere between 10 to 12 hours but per day, but not more than that, right? So with this is one thing. The last thing, as in I've always loved to travel, right? Travel, and I don't want to be restricted. So I wanted to work in an industry or in a domain which has location fungibility, right? So say today I'm working in product management in Bangalore. Tomorrow I can very well be placed in South Korea. Day after I can be placed in London, right? My skill is not geography dependent, as is the case with many of the industries, right? So these were my parameters to figure out, oh, which should be the careers, right? So then I started looking, oh, consulting offers say three or four of the five parameters, but work life balance takes a hit, right? Your health also goes for a toss because you're traveling 5 days a week, extensive travel, right? And Survi, all the best to you. You will you would be doing that very soon, right? Marketing, very good. You are solving customer problems. You are solving it at scale as well. But the switchability tends to be not very high in terms of say today if you're say working in FMCG, inevitably you will be working in FMCG only, right? While say for example, if you're working in product management, yesterday I was working in e-commerce, today I'm working in fintech, tomorrow I can go to insurance, day after I can work on say advertising tech, right? So every 1.5 2 years, and the industry is completely fine with it because they actually respect my skill over something else, right? And lastly, I also want to say wealth creation. So product managers are paid better than business folks. I would not say consult or finance, right? At this juncture, many of you would not be able to see that. The reason is you are underestimating the value of the RSUs or ESOPs that a company gives and the multiplier effect that it has. I will give you an example. So, many of my friends who joined Microsoft back in 2014, right, from IIM Ahmedabad and other colleges, they got they got about 15 16 lakh, but they also got ESOPs vesting over 4 years of about 40 lakhs. Those 40 lakhs are worth 6 crores as of today, and that is because Satya Nadella did so many good things and the stock has gone up so many times, right? So over a longer period, if you are with the right company, and more often than not in product management you do receive ESOPs, that wealth creation actually happens, and that essentially means that many of us want to retire early by 45, 50, whatever. So that helps. So those were my reasons to get into product management.
Right, sir. I think that answer was really, really helpful. We could understand there was a lot of experience and knowledge which was put into answering this question. Sir, moving on. As product management is a very, very large field, just like finance or consulting, right? So, sir, what are the roles there are in product management? So, if there is investment banking or private equity in finance, are there any such sub roles in product management as well?
Yeah. So very good question, right? Okay. So again, basis my experience, even before the role comes the company. So I'll define companies into two parts. One is what they call as a feature-led company, right? And this is a term that has, or feature factory. This is a term that has come up, in the last few years. And then the second is the core product company, right? So when I talk about the core product company, I'm talking about say Google or Netflix or Facebook or whatever, right? Wherein product is at the core. It's a product led company, while the first one is more of a business led company. So essentially, in the first one, what happens is a product manager is basically a translator of sorts, in the sense that business has come, oh, this is the mandate, we want to build this, right? Say for example, I am working with GeoMart. Someone would come back and say, oh, quick commerce is doing very well. Let's enable quick commerce. That decision has already been taken. And now it is up to me to execute it, right? So my job is more of a translator, although there will be some product decisions that I'll be making, but essentially I am just a translator between business and tech, right? Which is not a very, very ideal kind of product role, but yeah, I would say it is more of a program manager kind of role. The second is the core product manager role, wherein product is at the forefront of things. So, if I remember, Aditya, I think you were mentioning earlier, correct? Key, what does the product do? So, product would do the research and figure out on the basis of competition, on the basis of user, on the basis of 15 other things, that these are the things that we want to do, prioritize it, and execute it. Correct? So this is what I would say a product owner versus say or rather program manager versus a product manager would be, right? This is one of the differences. The other is, and the major difference that you can actually bisect into multiple ways, but B2B versus B2C. So who are you? I'm sure you guys know about B2B and B2C. So say for example, if you're a product manager for YouTube, right? YouTube is essentially a B2C kind of platform. So you are building it for 2 billion, 3 billion users. So you need to understand all the users. The end user is the customer as well, right? While say for something like B2B, you say for example, you are building, I don't know, an analytics tool for a company, correct? Then in that case, you just need to get the sign off of the CFO or CTO or whatever. So in that case, you don't have to, work so much on the design element as say for example you would have to work on the B2C side of things. So yeah, B2B versus B2C is one thing, product owner versus product manager is another thing. These would be some of the things at the entry level. Dhire dhire you would go, I think it's a normal hierarchy, APM, PM, SPM and all of that. Just the basket of products keep on increasing.
Right, sir. I think that was very insightful, sir. I'll quickly ask two questions taki we have a understanding of what a product manager essentially does. So, sir,
Hmm.
what we talked that product manager gets to deal with a lot of cross-functional teams. So, sir, can you tell us more कि क्या-क्या teams के साथ a product manager deals with? And secondly, sir, how does a day in a product manager's life look at? Like, what are the daily activities that they indulge into?
Very good, good questions. So I'm guessing a lot of you after this would be very much interested in being a product manager because it looks very, very fancy from outside. So yeah, like I mentioned, right? The life cycle would be the first stage is you figure out what is the pain point or the requirement. How do you figure that out? It can come from the business team. It can come from the support team. It can come from your own research. It could very well come from the tech team. So these are the set of people, right, who will give you all these requirements, right? But they will, just put it as requirement, one plain requirement saying, oh, we want to do this, or this is a problem for me. As a PM, you would next try to prioritize some of these requirements, right? Out of say 20 things, you would say, oh, I want to prioritize four of them in this sprint. Generally, you work on a sprint kind of model. One PM would have on an average, or at least the good number that the industry folks state is one PM should have five dev resources. I hope you all of you know what a developer dev resource is, someone who does the coding, right? And one QA. QA is something that would do the testing, right? So at a very high level, how it works is someone comes to you with the requirements, or you generate the requirement, you refine the requirement, you prioritize the requirement. Once you prioritize the requirement, you make it in a format that is understandable to tech, in the sense that tech is able to understand each and every flow. There should be no ambiguity, ideally, right? You do a walkthrough with the tech. Tech will come back with certain questions. You try to solve those questions either by yourself, or you go to relevant teams. Then tech does the tech solutioning, and once the solutioning is closed, they start working on developing the feature. Once they've developed the feature, they will put it in an environment, staging or test environment. On that environment, the QA person, the quality assurance guy, will do the testing. Once they are done with the testing, you yourself will do one more round of testing. We call it as UAT, user acceptance testing. Once you are done with that, then you make that feature live. After making the feature live, good companies also do something called as prod sanity. So you look at whether the feature is working perfectly or not. Then you would only make it, say, live only for a certain set of users and not for everyone. You see how it goes for a week or so. Once you've seen that there are no issues, no escalations or whatsoever, or the metrics are not dipping very much, then in that case you would scale it up to all of the users. In parallel, you will start working on the next set of requirements as well, right? So that's the product life cycle. Coming to your second question, what does the product manager do on a day-to-day basis? I think a very good answer is meetings, right? But apart from the meetings, product manager, so typically the day would start with having a scrum call, right? So Scrum call is basically, say, the five tech dev resources as well as QA. You would actually see what's the status. In case they have any blockers, you would try to solve some of these things. A product leader would also have a meeting with their own PMs, just to see, is there anything in their tracks that is a problem. Again, you would then go on to have your meetings with the different business teams or customer connects, to figure out what is there a pain point that we need to prioritize, or this is the prioritization list or whatever. Apart from this, you would also be working, say, with the design team. Sorry, I missed talking about the design team. So while, say, one feature life cycle is at very advanced UAT kind of state, the other feature is still in requirement state. So you will be working with the design team to build the mocks, user flows. Correct. So yeah, so that is something that you would be working very, very constantly on, right? And apart from that, there would always be some or the other customer escalation or prod bugs, as we call it. So you would be working on something or the other. And last bit, you are supposed to work on something called as PRD, product requirement document. So business will just give you a one-liner pain point. That is something you have to refine and translate it into a tech kind of thing, right? So no, lot of things work in parallel, right? You need to do a lot of context switching, is what we say, right? If you are good at that, as in, product is definitely for you.
Right, sir. I think that makes absolute sense. I'm hearing my own voice. Yes, sir. So, sir, थोड़ा सा और relevant कर देते हैं इस session को. Now that all of us are really fascinated about product management, sir, what are the various steps or courses, or any skills that you feel that we can hone in our MBA journey, right? So the majority of the audience will be stepping into their MBA journey in a couple of coming months. So, sir, any suggestions about internships or courses to probably, make our CV stand out in the SIP or final placements?
Okay. ओके. सो देखो, उससे पहले भी, मतलब प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट से पहले भी, आई हैव ऑलवेज बिलीव वन थिंग इन लाइफ: यू शुड जनरली बी क्यूरियस, राइट? You should be curious about any, not only, it need not be tech product, how things work, right? And especially in this era of chat GPT, If you're able to figure out or say ask the right kind of questions to chat gpt, you will be able to get like fantastic answers, right? So you should in general be very very curious. Curiosity will keep you in good stead always, right? So that's one thing that you should do irrespective of whether you want to go into prodman or something else, right? This is one thing. Second, even one more question, implicit question is who can be a product manager? I think there is a notion that only people who worked in tech can go into there. I think I've seen multiple, in fact, 50-60% of the PMs that I work with have come from MBA background only, and people who've done, say, mechanical engineering and all of that, they have also been, good at something like this, right? So, good, and they've been able to crack also, right? So, product management is for everyone if you are able to, if you are a good problem solver like I mentioned, right? So you can do it. There is no two ways about it, right? With practice, with time, you will just sharpen your skills. Okay, now how can I actually make my resume more relevant, right? And I would answer, say for example, if I were doing MBA today, right? So कैसे कर सकते हैं? तो one of the first things is मतलब companies value is experience. क्या आप experience ला सकते हो क्या? So the question that you'll to that you'll ask is, oh, I am going to do my MBA. How do I bring experience, right? Even within the current roles, say for example, some of you would be working right now, right? So even if you're working as a developer or in some other function, you would frequently be interacting with product management folks as well, right? Try to sit with them, try to understand what is it that they are doing, and ask them if you can partner with them or shadow them in some or the other projects, right? This is one way. The second good way is internship. क्या आप 2 महीने की internship कर सकते हो कि नहीं, right? Now again, internship, I mean, people will come back and say, why should we hire you and blah blah blah. Yeah, you can always do an unpaid internship, right? And leverage your network. In fact, ask Satish sir, he has a very good network. He'll put you in touch with someone who can actually help you with that, right? The third thing is live projects. So even while working where you are, right? I mean, you can reach out to people or you can follow people on LinkedIn. People are on the constant lookout for, others who can help, right? Especially in the startup space, right? So if you are in touch with those kind of people, you can actually work and hone your skills, right? Yeah. You can also do certain certifications and all that, which I am not a very big fan of because I've always believed that you should actually invest in skills. If you have the skills, certifications and all these things don't matter, right? So these are the things that you can do apart from your MBA, right? Coming to your question 2B, which is MBA में courses में क्या कर सकते हैं? तो उसमें during our time, तो as Satish already mentioned, right? We didn't even know what product management was, right? But when I look back, I see a lot of parallels between marketing and product management, right? Tech ka bhi, you don't need to be like super solid at tech, but you should know what are some of the things in tech, or some things about architecture, some things about design is very good. So there would be certain courses on MIS and all of that. If you are able to take some of these courses, it would be great. The other thing that you should do is you should definitely read certain books and follow certain podcasts. If you just do some Google and all of that, very good. You can find Lenny's podcast. You can find what Shreyas Doshi and all these guys, keep on mentioning about product and all. Over a period of 1-2 years, you will definitely get the hang of whatever they are saying, right? So read a lot of books, right? Yeah. So this is how you can actually inculcate some of those skills. There's also one more part to it. How do you crack product interviews, which in itself is a session. If you want, I can talk about it, but it can spill over a lot, right? So,
Right, sir. Right, sir. So, sir, just the last couple bunch of questions from my end. Sir, there are a lot of misconceptions which are attached with the Prodman field. Any misconceptions that you have come across, and how is it that you would address them?
uh, I think one of the misconceptions I already talked about, right? You need to be a techie to actually be good at or be come into product management, which is a useless notion, right? It can
Right.
make things easier, but that's about it. The second thing is, I mean, product management, people think, oh, हम लोग end to end एक feature बनाएंगे and all of that. Actually, it is more about problem solving and it is about prioritizing which problem to solve. If you are generally good at all of that, right, then I think product management will be, I would not say be a cakewalk, but it would be much, much more easier for you.
Right, sir. So, sir, there's also a misconception which says that, when there is layoff going on, right, product managers are probably people who are first, targeted because all the other teams can function independently, right? But, in product management, there is some amount of dependency on other teams. How true is that?
Okay, so if you look at the data, right, the first set of people that generally get fired are people in the support functions, people in the ops, people in the sales, right? Because if you're that's the kind of I mean that's the kind of most of the industries would do that, right? After that you would go ahead and assume that it would be product manager, but generally it is not so. You will find a lot of techies actually getting fired or laid off more than a PM, and the reason for that is very simple. The ratio of tech to a PM to tech is 1 is to 5, in some cases also 1 is to 10, right? Plus, the PM is the owner of the feature. It's very difficult to say, oh, say for example, I'm looking at ads, I am contributing to 300 crore revenue in many ways, right? Versus say 10 techies, वो divide हो जाता है 30 CR या whatever. These are the metrics that these guys look at, right? So I would actually say it is PMs are actually fired at the very end unless until you are in a position wherein you are cutting down the entire product. Say, for example, Amazon cut down Alexa division, right? So they've taken out the complete BU. So product managers also would go along with it, right? Yeah, I'll also give you a second data point. Even with all of these layoffs, you'll find that the product manager salaries are like insane, Abibi. More so, matlab, not only in Bangalore, but also if you compare it with Bay Area and all of that. So you guys have internet. You can go and check on levels.fyi, right? You can go and check the salaries in the Bay Area in UK and all of that, and you'll be astonished to see some of the PM, earnings from the PMs.
Mm.
So I don't agree with it. And even right
Right,
now,
sir.
hiring is going on for PMs, right? I'll
Right,
also
sir.
give you one more data point, because you guys are going to go into MBA and all of that. You'll find a lot of people from consulting and finance coming into product management, right? You would find the other way, vice versa, happening very low, right? That should tell you something. So right now, about 40-45%. So back in our day, as in we didn't have something called as product management. Very few people went into it, right? Today, I see 40-45% of my batchmates are into product management, right? And it's also showing, oh, they've, changed the CV to some extent that from 2012, these guys are product managers, which is also hard to believe, but that's how it is. Yeah. Sorry.
Right, sir. So, sir, I'll be moving on to some questions that the audience has asked.
Mm.
So, sir, one of the Amans is asking, I wish to ask this question. I have been working as an APM for close to 2 years now and wish to understand if going for MBA can help in long term if I wish to continue in product, or would the experience compensate for the degree in long term as well?
Very good predicament, Aman. Firstly, congratulations. You are already into a very, very good career, right? So if I were in your position, it would be difficult for me as well. Having said that, I would first sit back and evaluate me as a APM. Am I like a technical APM wherein I am just converting things or requirements into for the business, right? Is it like a very, very tech heavy kind of role, or I am like a business PM, right? And what is it that I want? Say, for example, I want to be a business PM and not a technical PM. Then in that case, MBA would definitely help. And I say that because MBA is very, very underrated because you get a glimpse of everything. It's you get to learn about finance, operations, marketing, so many other things, right? Which if you see all adds up and makes an organization. So it will just make you more robust. So if I already have a good grasp on all these things, I would probably not go for MBA. But if I feel I do have, then I don't think there is a need because then you lose out 2 years of your career.
Right. I hope, Aman, that has helped. Sir Satish is asking, what is sprint? And do I need to have CSE or engineering to get a job in Prodman?
Okay.
I think
देखो
we covered
sprint,
that.
okay, sprint क्या होता है जो the cycle that I was talking about, right? So you have 5 or 6 developers, right? They'll work on certain tasks or features rather, right? So generally it is a 2 week kind of thing wherein they say, oh, in these 2 weeks or say in these 4 weeks, we'll be working on these tasks and delivering that, right? So that complete cycle for that particular feature would be a sprint wherein requirement is given from requirement closure to solutioning to development to QA testing to user acceptance testing to making that feature live. So that complete cycle is a sprint. Generally, most companies have a sprint like culture so that you can bring more decorum. Otherwise, ये होगा कि हर दिन कोई फीचर लॉन्च कर रहा है 3 महीने कोई फीचर ही नहीं लॉन्च होगा so you need to have some kind of structure in place, right? Bigger features you can divide, say you want to launch something very big, you can divide it into say 6 different sprints and take one sprint at a time.
Yes, sir, there is a follow-up question again from Satish. That can a non-engineer like a BCom or BBA also get into product management?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल एकदम आंख बंद करके. And not only that, right? So you are thinking product management is the fancy WhatsApp, Meta, and all of that, right? Say you can very well become a product manager on the accounting side. Say I come from Flipkart, right? And I'm currently with GeoMart. Now, GeoMart, say, we have sellers on one side, customers on the other side. For these sellers, accounting or seller settlement and all that is a huge, huge kind of pain. You would actually be in a much better position as compared to some of the other folks to understand because you know कि settlement कैसे होना है, you know कि accounting entry ledger journal entry वगैरह या trial balance कैसे होना है. So you would do much more than a normal person in some of these things. So definitely you you are no less than anyone else.
Right, sir. To you, sir, Janki is asking that what are the best firms to work with as a product manager? And also, while we're talking about it, we would also like to know what are the pay scales in a product manager job look like?
देखो ओके सो सेकंड आंसर इज सिंपल थोड़ा रिसर्च आपको भी करना चाहिए ठीक है so you can I already talked about the website right and you can actually follow on LinkedIn and you'll find it would definitely even for starters you it would be at par if not more with others and there's always an ESOP component. I will tell you one thing that I have seen in my career. A business person, let's say grades are in descending order ascending order, right? A business person who's a grade 12 would earn the same as a product person who's one level lower, grade 11, would earn the same as a tech person who's at grade 10. So tech की एक level salary greater than product, greater than business, ये होता ही है, right? And you can also add ops को थोड़ा सा कम रहता है या जो भी रहता है. Obviously, consulting is much more lucrative. Investment banking, these are two exceptions, or PEVC, these are two exceptions. But then it also comes at the cost of working too much and all of that, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Right? What was the
Right.
first question? Sorry.
Sir, what are the best firms to work with as a product manager?
Very, very subjective, but I will tell you, matlab, or till at least 1.5 years back, people used to think that FANG companies are very good, right? You know FANG, right? Facebook, Apple, Netflix, blah, 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 Google, right? But now that they've laid off and all of that, that's not the case. So people are now looking at the next set of companies in the AI space and all of that, but very subjective. If you ask me, startups are much better in US startups are much better wherein You learn a lot as well. At the same time, it's not like very operational ki kal kya hoga, kal kya hoga. You don't have a 3 year view, but you have a 4 month, 6 month view, which is decent, and you don't even have a view jo kal kya hoga. So it's a very, very good balance kind of thing. Sweet
Right, sir.
spot.
Makes sense. Yeah. Aditya, please unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Hello, sir. So, sir,
Thank
you
you.
talk about the Prodman role. You also talk about that how they are developing a strategies, how they are having a knowledge of the data analyst. They are not only working for the scalability, they are also looking for the reliability of the company. So, sir, these all are the things which have been done by the Prodman. Then why the company are looking for the consultant? Because if I am having a product, I know that Prodman is going to solve my any kind of the problem. He is also having a knowledge of the UI or UX, as you are saying. He also must be know of the data learning or the machine learning. He
Mm.
not only looking after my reliability, but also going to be manage my reliability for the product. Then why do we need a consultant? Because Prodman is going to solve all the role. So you told me that consultants are shifting to the Prodman. So why the like people are more like I was also more towards the consultant like just this session before, but after this session, I am going to look more for the Prodman role. So can you please give me the idea of that because I am kind
So,
bit confused
so,
in this.
so matlab, I'm sure you had a session careers in consulting. Consulting is a very big umbrella. You get in a consultant to solve a lot of things, right? Say for example, market entry strategy. अगर आपको वो करना, that's not something product manager करेगा, correct? So you say, अच्छा हम लोग Pepsi है, hypothetically we want to launch in Bangladesh and it's not there. So वो काम जो है वो आपका consultant. So market entry strategy is one of the roles, right? Consultants are also brought to validate some of the things independently by the CEO. So CEO believes, oh, my team has done this. I also want to get an independent view. तो इसके लिए भी लाते हैं. In my experience, consultants are also brought to do a lot of org restructuring. So again, CEO wants कि अच्छा we are overstaffed. ठीक है तो हम लोग कंसल्टेंट को लाएंगे. कंसल्टेंट बैठ के देखेगा कि एट एवरी लेवल व्हाट इज द बेंचमार्किंग रोल वर्सेस ये. इफ द सीईओ डज इट राइट, then company may it will set a very bad precedent. The CEO will look very bad. So they can very well bring in consultant for to actually do this org restructuring or suggest this restructuring. So consulting assignments are generally very different. Having said that, in the last few years, consulting folks have also started something called as a product management domain, right? Now, say for example, there is a traditional company, Bombay Dyeing, right? They have a very basic product or whatever, or Go Air, let's say Go Air, right? So they have a very basic product. They don't have the resources to invest into say 100 tech people and 10 product managers. तो आप क्या करोगे? You still want to go live in 6 months. आपको चाहिए एक ऐप बन जाए. या कोटक बैंक है, right? You would have seen their app. तो एक है कि आप 300 लोग हायर करो और वो 300 भी लॉन्ग रन में करो. मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि उनको छोड़ सकते हो. कंसल्टेंट को तो लाए 6-7 महीने में काम हो गया, उसके बाद यू कैन से ओके टाटा बाय बाय, राइट? So that is what I would say would be a difference. But I'm very happy you are thinking about product management. It's not a bad career option at all.
Okay.
Yeah, Darshit.
Yes, sir. So, sir, to be product manager, do one need to like technology or is it okay? Like before joining an MBA college, I was software engineer and responsible for developing softwares. So, honestly speaking, I don't like to code, but I like to see things in the perspective of the business. So, uh, is it for me or not?
Hey, it's for you, यार. क्यों नहीं है? अच्छा, it's good. I think one of the criticisms that I have of many of the product managers is, I mean, they end up building features. Okay, so there was a data point that someone had floated. 86% of the features have less than 20% adoption. इसका मतलब आप जो भी बना रहे हो, and there's a significant resource that's going into it. Huh? Like I mentioned, tech people are paid very nicely. आपने 5-6 टेक रिसोर्स लगा के वो फीचर बनाया एंड वो फीचर यूज ही नहीं हो रहा है. What a loss for the company, correct? So if you have the business insight and you know कि ये फीचर यूज होगा, दिस इज गोइंग टू सॉल्व अ बिजनेस प्रॉब्लम फॉर अस, राइट, I will build that feature, then it is very useful for the company. So if you are able to wear that business hat, it is definitely for you. And it's an added advantage if you know how tech things work as well. वो इसलिए क्योंकि क्या होता है ना, इनहेरेंटली मोस्ट ऑफ अस डोंट वांट टू वर्क, ये रियलिटी है। तो टेक वाले तो और ही मतलब बाबू बन के बैठे रहते हैं, जो 4 घंटे में का काम है वो आपको 2 हफ्ता बताएंगे, राइट। इफ यू नो सम एबीसी ऑफ टेक, यू कैन गो बैक टू देम एंड से बॉस ये तो कुछ नहीं, दिस इज मोर लाइक अ कॉन्फिग चेन, ये क्या आप बोल रहे हो, है ना। तो वो 2 हफ्ते का वो 2 दिन करेगा, बट स्टिल यू सेव लाइक 7-8 days, राइट, विच इज गुड इनफ.
So,
And over a period of time, you'll understand. You don't need to know how AWS works and all of that. You should know how your systems are interacting. That's it. कि डेटा यहाँ से यहाँ जा रहा है, यहाँ से यहाँ जा रहा है, 12 बजे सिंक होता है, ऐसा होता है, ये होता है. दैट इज दैट्स नॉट वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर अ बिजनेस पर्सन टू अंडरस्टैंड. टेक पर्सन तो एकदम ही अच्छे से समझ जाएगा.
so basic overview is required, not detailed technical understanding.
Correct. And by the way, वो flows you need to know in any other role also. कि
Yeah.
आपका क्या कैसे होता है.
So
क्या
mainly we don't need to engage with technology in our day-to-day lives.
the
Implementation,
engineering, correct. The
implementation
engineering
time.
manager is supposed to know all of that.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Hi, Bijan.
Hello, sir. So I had two questions. That being a non-tech person, I have completed my graduation from biotechnology. So is it better to go for an MBA and then go for product management, or to learn the product skills by myself and then go for product management role? Which one is better?
Very good question. Up to you. Right. It depends on. So, by the way, actually, Satish sir and the others can comment, because nowadays you also have certain courses in product management at B schools. So you should know exactly which B school you are going for, and are they offering a course around that or not. If they are, that is definitely an advantage, right? And I would still go for it, right? Having said that, I have always been a very big fan of, if you want to do anything, try to get a first hand exposure of it. तो आपको प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट करना है, आप उसका एक्सपोजर ले लीजिए, वो लेके आप इवेलुएट कीजिए 6 months की वेदर यू आर गुड और नॉट, right, or whether you are liking it or not, and if there is a gap, and if you still feel there is a gap, same question that someone was asking, if they are working as a APM, if there is a gap in terms of business understanding or analytical know-how, then probably I would still go for MBA.
So,
Okay.
Dada, just to add here, so in most of the B schools these days, Dada, they have introduced something called as POP, Professor of Practice. जो प्रैक्टिसिंग प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर्स है ना, वही लोग आके 1 कोर्स 2 कोर्स करा रहे हैं. आई थिंक आपके बैच से अरुण श्रीनिवासन जो है ना, so he runs product management course in at least 3-4 B schools. IIM Cal में भी करता है, ट्रिची में भी करता है, ऐसे 4-5 B schools में करता है. And there are students, sorry, some of my batchmates also run this, right? So I would say कि प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट आज की तारीख में आपको जो बी स्कूल्स में पढ़ा रहे हैं ना, ज्यादातर वो लोग प्रैक्टिसिंग प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर्स. तो यू कैन बी रेस्ट अश्योर्ड, वो आपको वही चीजें सिखा रहे होंगे जो उनकी लाइफ में भसुड़ी चल रही होगी, या मतलब whatever the solutions they are actually implementing. So जैसे सर ने बताया था, राइट, कि इनहेरेंटली लोग काम नहीं करना चाहते हैं, तो rather than creating a new course, he would anyways tell you what he is doing, what is going good, what is going bad. इससे आपका अच्छा ही हो रहा है. That way you are learning what is actually happening in the ground.
True.
Right?
So,
So
Bijay, you have your answer. Satish sir, I didn't know about this product. अगर ऐसा है तो मतलब MBA, B schools and all would even be more lucrative. No?
yes,
That's a good addition.
yes. POP, ये सब कुछ पॉसिबल हुआ बिकॉज ऑफ द POP, प्रोफेसर ऑफ प्रैक्टिस, जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने रिसेंटली लॉन्च किया. वरना ये पॉसिबल ही नहीं था, बिकॉज दे यूज्ड टू हैव वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग गार्डरेल्स ऑफ कि PhD है तो ही टीचिंग कर सकते हैं, वगैरह वगैरह.
True. Yeah, Himanshu, Pranati.
Yes, sir. So right now I'm in IT consulting, working from last 8 months. So I have one question, like what should a person's resume look like to get into a product management? Like yesterday and day before yesterday, we had sessions on consulting and finance. So we know like it needs a spike in a resume or like a excellent accounts. So do a person having an average 80 plus, 85 plus in 10th, 12th, and a 9.4 GPA in CSE BTech would be a good for EM role after an MBA?
So very soon after, in a few years, you will realize that acats and all, they don't matter much. What matters is what you bring to the table, right? Terms of your question, first thing that you look at is for a product role, you look at experience, right? Depending on what level, if you are hiring. If you are hiring for APM, then you know that the person does not bring in experience. So if the person does not bring in experience, what is it that you look at, right? Ideally you would look at what product you build, what problem you solved. अब वो तो है नहीं, तो आप ये तो देख सकते हो आपने प्रॉब्लम क्या सॉल्व किया. So say for example, if you are working as a IT consultant, I would look at what was the problem and what did you solve. वो एक चीज मैं देखूंगा बिफोर हायरिंग यू, राइट. Acats is a good thing. You should definitely have good Acats, right? I am a big fan of having Acats. Acats and consistency, it shows ki the person will always, put in a lot of effort, etc., etc. Right? But it is not the only thing. जैसे like I said, stakeholder management है, communication skills है. Because you are going to communicate with very very junior folks in the QA team versus say I don't know CMO and all these marketing head, product head, and all of that. Are you able to hold your own in terms of communication, in terms of professional communication also? So ये सारी चीजें, these are some of the things that I would do. Generally, what I do is I ask people about their comfort zone only. आप बताओ, it need not be say from the product side. कोई भी ऐसा project या program या whatever that you worked on, what was the problem? How did you solve it? What were the challenges? How did you circumvent these challenges? And what was the final impact? इससे ना बंदे का डेप्थ पता लग जाता है, ये भी पता लगता है कि वो एंड टू एंड सोच पा रहा है कि नहीं. So if you are able to do that, very good.
Okay, sir.
Does
Thank
that
you.
answer?
Yes.
Yeah, Pranati.
सर आई वांटेड टू आस्क कि आपने जो स्टार्टिंग में बोला था that you have worked across multiple industries from edtech to digital services like JioMart and all. So I want to know कि हर इंडस्ट्री में मतलब इस तरह से जंप करना इज इजी और डू यू नीड स्पेसिफिक नॉलेज लाइक फिनटेक का कोई प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर रहा हूँ या उस कंपनी में काम कर रहा हूँ तो माय एक्सपर्टीज इज in fintech or in edtech. So I'll be able to work in the same industry for a long period of time, or is it possible, as you explained, ki the same is my case, ki I want to work on diverse problems and it bores me if I am doing the same thing for a long period of time. So is it easy or does it require in-depth knowledge of each and every industry which you are working on?
In depth तो नहीं. So actually good question. So before doing that, right, you should always know the pros and cons of the things, right? So you want to work say 1.5 years on a new problem statement, right? But you should also understand सामने वाला क्या experience चाहता है. Say for example, if you go into like very very core industries like fintech or payments, they say, oh, it takes you 2 years just to understand the landscape and all of that. So we need this kind of experience, etc., etc. So it is difficult to get into it, right? The the downside of making a lot of frequent changes is by the time by the time you actually learn the tricks of the trade, you are already moving on to something else, right? So your growth at some point may take a hit, right? Because people will say, अच्छा आप 3-4 साल रहोगे तो उसके बाद ही हम आपको ग्रो कराएंगे वगैरह वगैरह and all of that, right? Also, you would be, say you go from 0 to 80 85 in 1.5 years in terms of learning, but you will not be a subject matter expert, right? Say for that particular industry. So ये कॉल आपको लेना है कि मैं अब 1.5 साल में 0 से 85 पहुंचा हूं, अब मैं 85 से 95 जाऊं अगले 2 साल में इसी इंडस्ट्री में, या न्यू इंडस्ट्री में, या मैं 0 to 85 करूं. तो एज अ पर्सन व्हाट अपील्स टू मी इज द लेटर वन, कि मैं 0 to 85 जाऊं. तो मेरे अंदर वो डेप्थ नहीं आएगी उस इंडस्ट्री को लेके एज कंपेयर टू समवन हु स्पेंड 4-5 years, एंड आई एम परफेक्टली ओके विद दैट. But I know a lot of people who would not be okay with it. So it's a trade-off. It's more of a personal choice per se. In terms of hiring, or rather finding an opportunity, मेरा ये मानना है for the first 7-8 years of your corporate life, you can do all of this very easily. After that, people tend to ask for more experience and all of that. जैसे अगर मैं अभी फिनटेक में जाऊंगा तो आई कैन शो पेटीएम का एक्सपीरियंस, राइट, बट पीपल विल से ओ आई वांट 5 years इन फिनटेक एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट, तो वहां पे थोड़ा सा स्ट्रगल हो जाता है. तो यू शुड नो अबाउट द प्रोज एंड कॉन्स ऑफ इट. बट द अदर साइड इज ऑल्सो वेरी लुक्रेटिव because I am always interested. मुझे लगता है ओ, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आई वाज वर्किंग विद InMobi Glance, right? So short video, if you remember, TikTok got banned and Ruposo and so many other short video apps had come up, right? So all my life I had just been working on commerce products, wherein customer lao, customer से बेच के खरीद के चले जाओ. Suddenly I was working on a product wherein you are trying to engage the customer more the customer spends time, more the number of ads you show, and that's how you make money, right? So kaise
Right.
interesting banao and all of that. So from a learning perspective, you are always very very interested in the second thing, and that's why I keep on doing that.
Right, sir. So sorry to interrupt, sir. Praniti Subrato, we'll just take a halt. So we'll be wrapping up the session in the next 10 minutes max because sir has other commitments as well. Sir, I just have to take a couple of questions that we have in the chat box. So, sir, Utkarsh, I don't know, is asking, sir, I don't have a computer science background and don't have skills like UI, UX design and data analytics. What shall we do to cover it up?
So as I mentioned before, ये तो नहीं है कि मतलब you will not be able to get into product management. That's not a prerequisite. You will get into it if you are able to do the other things. UI UX, so it's very simple. There are a lot of courses, many of these free courses on Udemy and Udacity and whatever. You can actually try to subscribe to some of these. वो अगर आपको नहीं भी करना है तो आप ना सारे एप्स हैं, आप अपने पास ना 20-25 एप्स आप डाउनलोड कर लो, उनका एक्सपीरियंस देख लो. Try to understand what is the experience for the new user, repeating user, what are some of the different things that these guys do. ये एक करो. दूसरा फिग्मा या बाल्समिक डाउनलोड करके आप बैठ जाओ. You spend 30-40 hours on it, you will find that you are able to make build and make mocks like at least an average person. So that's
Right.
not a very difficult skill to acquire.
Right, sir. We'll quickly take up a few questions again from the chat box. Sir, Vishal is asking, is there always a plan B, which is a backup plan whenever a product launch in the market? So whenever there's a product launch in the market, is there a backup plan as well?
Some companies it is, some companies it is not. So I work with some companies जहाँ पे नहीं होता है, और जब नहीं होता है तो you tend to have a kill switch. So whenever you've gone ahead with a feature, say for example that feature is reducing the NPS. NPS is like a customer satisfaction metric that we look at, right? Very, very significantly, you trying to create a kill switch to actually switch it off. Having said that, there are companies wherein there is no backup plan also. So your skills as a product manager is tested even more, because there's no time to do a proof of concept, hypothesis building, and all of that. आपका गट फीलिंग के बेसिस पे आप काम कर रहे हैं, एंड इफ यू आर रॉन्ग देन मतलब द कंपनी सफर्स अ लॉट. सो एज अ रिजल्ट इट बिकम्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू हायर गुड PMs.
So how is it decided? Like this is a personal question. So how is it decided if there has to be a plan B or if there's a kill switch? Are there any parameters or structure to it?
So it depends on how big the feature is. It depends on
Right.
firstly it depends on the DNA of the company. जैसे
Right.
पेटीएम है, उसमें है ही नहीं, their tech does not support देयर इज नो कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ A/B टेस्टिंग, तो वो खत्म ही है। तो ये सतीश सर भी ओला में काम कर चुके हैं, ही वुड आल्सो नो कि व्हाट आई एम सेइंग, राइट? सो ये डीएनए ऑफ द कंपनी है। बाकी फीचर कितना बड़ा है, कितने यूजर्स को इम्पैक्ट कर रहा है, उस हिसाब से आप कॉल ले सकते हो। इफ इट्स अ स्मॉल फीचर, यू डोंट नीड अ वेरी बिग प्लान एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट, ये प्लान बी। If it's a big feature, you definitely need to have kill switch. अगर kill switch नहीं होता है तो you actually try to mitigate by launching for a certain segment of users or a certain geography, or try to come out with something. ये आप consulting में भी करोगे, by the way, ऐसा नहीं है। Many of these concepts are like
Overlapping.
interchangeable. Yeah,
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Right,
times
sir.
these also depend on founders. जैसे
Right.
जब so एक आपका इंसिडेंट बताता हूँ। आई थिंक 2016 17 समवेयर अराउंड दैट पीरियड ऑफ टाइम फ्लिपकार्ट ने बोला कि हमारी कोई वेबसाइट नहीं होगी, सिर्फ हम ऐप से चलेंगे।
Okay.
दैट्स अ
So
वेरी
yeah,
बिग, मतलब वेरी बिग चेंज आई वुड से इन टर्म्स
Yeah.
ऑफ प्रोडक्ट डिसीजन। क्योंकि आप जब कोई भी चीज डेवलप करते हो तो यू डेवलप इट फॉर ऐप, यू डेवलप इट फॉर वेब वेब ब्राउजर जो बोलते हैं, या ब्राउजिंग ऐप जो बोलते हैं, या आप जो वेबसाइट बोलते हैं, यू ऑप्टिमाइज फॉर ऑल दीज थिंग्स। सो उस टाइम पे फाउंडर ने सचिन बंसल ने सचिन
नहीं,
जिसे
फाउंडर नहीं, सीपीओ था पुनीत सोनी।
पुनीत
They got him from Google,
गूगल
right? And he tried to bring in this, and so this didn't work out. It's such a big call, Survi. It was such an embarrassment for him also. Ki I think within 6 7 months he had to leave.
लीव।
Oh my God. Okay.
He was not asked to leave, but it's more like कि हाँ, ये
Yeah.
call।
आपने
But
पूछा
if
नहीं
the
कि
call
मेरी
could have worked out very good, मतलब next level ही होता। हाँ,
Right, sir.
आई
बट
थिंक
टू एवरीवन एल्स, आप जब ज्वाइन करोगे उस लेवल पे आप ये कॉल्स नहीं लोगे। लाइक आई
Right.
सेड, यू स्टार्ट विद एग्जीक्यूशन एंड देन यू विल वर्क योर वे टुवर्ड्स CS strategy and all that.
Right, sir. So last 5 minutes and then we'll let you leave. Really sorry, we're taking so much of your time.
No
Sir,
issue. No, please.
so Priyakant is asking that can you compare your work-life balance or stress of your current job and the past ones to the past ones?
Okay, so I think actually it's a good question. So okay, firstly about me as a person, right? हम लोग भी engineering में you would, I think someone asked about ACADS. देखो 80 तो हम लोग भी ले ही आते थे, right? But one good thing that I learned is to handle pressure. एग्जाम से एक दिन पहले पढ़ के भी कैसे भी कितना भी कोर्स होगा पढ़ लो, हैंडल दैट प्रेशर एंड डिलीवर. So I've always believed that life should be more like a sine wave and not a straight linear, as or Satish ji was mentioning, right? तो प्रोडक्ट में भी ऐसा ही है कि आपके जब फीचर लॉन्च होते हैं, फीचर लॉन्च के पहले यानी क्रेजी होता है. इट कुड वेरी वेल बी फॉर 12 hours 14 hours ऑल्सो ऑन सम डेज, नॉट इन ऑल कंपनीज बट इन मेनी कंपनीज ये होता है. सो अ वीक बिफोर दैट एंड से 3 4 days आफ्टर दैट, राइट, ये ऐसा हो सकता है. But the good thing is it balances out. Other days are pretty much chill as well, right? So this is what happens here. I have worked with other companies. So my startup, we used to work 15 hours also, and it never mattered to me because I was so invested on solving that particular problem and all of that, right? So, but work-life balance wise, I was generally more irritated not by the long hours, but whenever I was doing something that I generally didn't like, or I was working with someone who didn't appreciate what I was doing, or say it was like too much of travel and unnecessary travel. जैसे consulting में जबरदस्ती 5 days, and the glamorous part of consulting is कि ओ हम लोग यहाँ जाएंगे, कहाँ यूरोप घूमेंगे, पता नहीं कहाँ कहाँ
So
घूमेंगे.
that is also not very true now because a lot of consulting companies are also cost cutting. So इतना
हाँ, नहीं,
glamorous
but
नहीं है.
even for people who are there, right? And हमें तो
Yeah.
वो ट्रैवल करवाते थे रायपुर में, कोयम्बतूर में, and all of that, जहाँ पे है ना, एक ही लाला कंपनी है, जैसे लुधियाना कर देंगे, ट्राइडेंट का बहुत बड़ा वो है, तो ये
बस
सब बिग ये आपको पैसे तो मिल रहे हैं, बट हाँ लुधियाना जाके और कुछ नहीं करना है, पराठे खा लो, ठीक है, बट हाँ वो यही है। आई एम नॉट सेइंग इट्स बैड, बट इट यूज्ड टू टेक अ टोल ऑन मी कि यानी आप करोगे क्या, देयर इज नथिंग आउटसाइड वर्क फॉर यू, सो या।
Uh, Sir, with this, we're coming to an end to the session. Thank you so much, sir, for patiently listening to all the queries and answering them with utmost patience. I would just open the floor to Satish, sir, Director Ahmedabad, to give some parting message.
नहीं, अब पार्टिंग मैसेज वैसेज कुछ नहीं होगा, थैंक यू बोलना होगा, वरना उधर भाभी से डांट खानी पड़ेगी।
Exactly.
चलो,
Hey,
थैंक
I
Okay,
यू।
sir.
wanted to say thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you everyone for joining the session, and also you guys are in good hands, huh? So we didn't have a Satish ji kind of thing during our days, and हमने इतना करियर का सोचा नहीं था। आप लोग सोच रहे हो, आप लोग सोच पा रहे हो, क्योंकि आपको ऐसा फोरम मिला है, तो appreciate the good things that you have, right? It's wonderful, right? And it's good to see so much enthusiasm, right? I'm sure you'll all do great in your careers also. In case you still have any queries, ping me. I'll try to find time. We can connect on phone or whatever, phone, LinkedIn, etc. Hello. Yeah. And thank you,
Sure,
Satish ji.
sir.
Thanks, Purvi, for conducting the session too.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. You've been very generous towards us. Thank you again. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Satish, sir, for organizing this. And we'll wrap up the session. Good night, everyone. Thank you again for joining in. And we'll see you in the next series of careers in some other domain. Thank you so
Chalo,
much.
थैंक
bhai.
यू।
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.